Fat Guy Flies RC here, coming to you back from the man cave. In our last series, the beginner basic series that I've started, we talked about just the basic outside of the plane, what you're looking at as you look at your plane, your prop, your wing, your elevator, your rudder, your ailerons, your flaps, the basic idea of what each part of the external parts of the plane, what it's called. And so now we're going to go a little bit further in, a little more detail, more about what's inside of an RC plane, your typical foam RC plane and most RC planes, and what they're called and what their function is. So let me change our camera view and be right back. All right, we're back. And before you, what you're looking at now is a Park Zone T28B Trojan. All right, that's what the plane we're going to use today. And we're going to go a little more in depth and in detail of what you have, what you find in an RC plane. Let me get the top off of here. All right. First of all, these right here are what you call servos. Okay. One operates the rudder and the front nose wheel, and the other one operates the elevator, what makes the plane go up and down. The rudder, what makes the plane go right or left. This is the receiver that's installed. This is the brain of the airplane, in essence, that it receives the signal from the transmitter, the radio that you hold in your hand, and this is the receiver. Your transmitter transmits, your receiver receives. It takes that signal and it sends it communicates to these servos and to what we call the ESC, which I'll show you in a minute. Think it's like a carburetor. Okay, and it interprets the signal, the input that you have from your transmitter, transmits that signal to the receiver, and then the receiver, like I said, tells the plane what to do. Now, remember I just said ESC, right? Okay. If you look, let me get where I can hold this also. If you look right up in here, see this funny looking thing here? And that little device, probably can't see it right up in there because it might shade, but there's a device right up in there, that's called the ESC. All right, and the ESC basically is like a carburetor on an engine. It takes the power from your battery and turns it into a power source, electronic speed control, ESC, and it controls the power, and then it powers your servos, and it also powers the motor. Now these motors, you can't really see on this plane. Most planes are going to be, but there's a little motor inside there. And it's an electric motor, and it's got copper coils wrapped around magnets, and magnets spin. Just a typical electric motor, and that ESC turns that power from the battery into usable regulated energy to turn that prop, that propeller, to give you your thrust. Now, like I said, electronic speed control, with the word control being most important. The ESC takes the power, turns it into control. You give more throttle, it gives it more power to the motor. The motor turns the prop faster, you go faster. You give it less power on your transmitter, and then it interprets that and gives less power to the prop. And this is all done instantaneously. All right, another part of that ESC is what we call the battery connector. Now this particular connector is called an EC3, which is typically a E-flight or it's an E-flight connector. This is just a type of connector that hooks to your battery. Batteries for this type of plane are called Lipo batteries. Okay, and these are lithium polymer batteries. And you can see this is a newer Lipo battery, and you see how that would just connect right to. I don't want to put power to the plane right now, but that would just connect in there nice and tight. You'd have power. You can now fly the plane. You have the ability now. Okay, so that is You understand what an ESC is. You understand what the receiver does. And here's an example of a transmitter or a radio that you hold in your hand. This one here is actually called a DX9 spectrum transmitter, and this is what I use to fly all of my planes. It controls all of my planes, obviously one at a time. Okay, no one's quite that good. Well, anyways, so to recap, you got your ESC, you got your receiver, and you got your servos. The servos are little electric motors that receive the signal from the receiver and move your control surfaces. Now there's a servo in this wing, and then you saw the two servos that work on the control your elevator and your rudder. Now you're thinking, well, how does it work? Well, it gets the signal and it goes backwards and forwards depending on how you send the signal. Okay, and the parts of the servo, you got the servo itself, which is inside the wing. You've got the servo arm. You've got the control rod, which kind of makes sense. This is called a clevis, this little part here that attaches. And this part right here is your, my mind just went blank. Okay, is your control horn. Okay, and it's basically the control horn or control arm. People call it different things, but it's what attaches to the control surface. And then the control rod attaches to the control horn, which attaches to the servo arm, and then the whole thing works together. Okay, and that's how the servo works, and that's how you get movement in those control surfaces, and they all work the same way. If this plane had electronic retracts, in other words, this wheel would fold down in here with a flip of a switch, there would be a similar servo inside there, moving gears to pull this wheel down. I have several planes that have that, but not for this purpose of this video. I'm not showing you that right. This is what you consider a simple 4-channel plane, because I have one channel out of my receiver that controls my ailerons. We learned what those were. One channel that controls my elevator. We learned what that was. And then a third channel that controls my rudder and also controls my steerable nose wheel. We say, well, that's only 3 if that's a 4-channel plane. Where's the 4th channel? The 4th channel is that throttle, or what comes off the ESC to control the speed of my plane. And all 4 of those things working together is what lets your plane fly. All right, folks, let me turn the camera around. Let me get up where you can see me. I hope that gave you a simple explanation of how your receiver, your ESC, and your servos all work together to control your plane in air, and you understanding the definition of a transmitter and a receiver, and that whole thing is a radio system. All right, folks, well, I hope this didn't make it clear as mud for you, but I hope this for you pilots want to get in and you don't want to walk into this thing with no education, and you walk into a hobby shop, you want to buy a plane. Now you know a little more about what you're looking at and what you're dealing with. So I hope this helps you out. Y'all have a good one. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit that like button, the thumbs up, and subscribe if you want. And hit the bell. That way every time I load up one of these videos, you'll find out about it. You'll know about it. And remember, subscribing, getting your own little YouTube subscription is free. It doesn't cost you a thing. You're on no obligation. You don't have to give out any personal information other than maybe your email address. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. God bless y'all. I just said that again, didn't I? Bye.